At the end, there are two kinds of entrepreneurs. There are those that come with the technology,
right?
Try to find a solution or a need for this kind of technology, and those that are trying to find the need and to develop a technology for that specific need. I'm from the second type.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with CTECH. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today, I'm with Zohar Halachmi, the chairman and CEO of D-Fend Solutions. Before founding and leading D-Fend Solutions, he was the founder and CEO of 3 startup companies. He also held vice president and C-level positions at Amdocs and DECI Telecom, global and public telecommunication enterprises. While managing multidisciplinary large and small-scale organizations, Zohar created fast growth and profitable businesses, bringing innovative solutions and services to the market. He graduated cum laude with a BSc from the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, and a master's from Tel Aviv University, and was a lecturer at both institutions. It's really great to have you here. Serial entrepreneur is, I think your journey depicts that statement. Working on a variety of technologies from software-based to today drone defense, and looking at the world in various lenses. And so before we get specifically to D-Fend and what you're doing with drones and looking at the world a little bit in a futuristic way, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you think through your own entrepreneurial spirit. What has sort of been the guiding North Star for you as you've been transitioning through the different companies you've worked with?
Wow, tell you about myself. So, grew over here in Israel. Nothing special in that. I joined the Technion, and I had my first degree over there, BSc, and then I moved to Tel Aviv University. I did my second degree over there, and then I started my career. I started with big companies, and then I started with startups. Was a member of the team that started DSL technology, and from there started type of SaaS for enterprises activity. I lived most of my business life were in the US at that time. I also had some time in Asia Pac region. I managed the region.
Vice president of Amdocs within Asia.
Yes, so I managed the region for Amdocs. Bottom line, I am a strange type of creature where I started in the academy and I moved to the business life, and that's what I do.
Incredible. And eventually, you're getting into the drone space. Was that, natural thing? Was this something that you've researched for a while? How does one get to, to transition to working in something like D-Fend Solutions 6 years ago?
First, if you look at my career, you'll see that I never really did the same thing.
Right.
So my first activity was DSL. The second one was SaaS for enterprises, software play. The third one was mobile advertisement. And this is the fourth one. So every time I'm just moving to a different type of business, different type of technology. And this is really what I like in what I do as an entrepreneur. How did I find it? So I think that at the end, there are two kinds of entrepreneurs. There are those that come with the technology,
right?
Try to find a solution or a need for this kind of technology, and those that are trying to find the need and to develop a technology for that specific need. I'm from the second type. So I was looking for a need. And the need I found is this type of dealing with drones, or actually protecting ourselves from drones. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do over here. bottom line, the drone type of, let's call it society, is a very important one. It's really the future of many of the things that we are experiencing right now and also will experience going after. And it's an important one. We try to do is bottom line support the growth of this type of society and have, let's call it secure drone adoption while providing innovation technology to support it.
Wonderful. So, before we talk about defense solutions specifically, take me a little bit 30,000 feet in the air, because, I have a feeling that most people listening to this and hearing about, drone technologies, we're thinking about DJI. We're thinking about, the consumer drone market, that when I go on a family trip, I take it up to take pictures of me. But what is happening with drone technologies around the world, and how is this going to get integrated into society in really meaningful ways?
First, each one of us, when we speak about drones, we have a different picture in the head. Some of us see Amazon bringing stuff to our home with drones. Some of us see pizza coming with that, and others are using that in different malicious ways. So bottom line, it's a very nice type of technology, but it's not just that. If you look about, let's say, 10 years ago, in order to acquire such a technology, you used to have to buy or invest $50 to $100 million and get this kind of equipment. Right now, for $1,500, you can order yourself from Amazon or anyone else a drone that really can give you capabilities, amazing capabilities, which allows you and my kids to fly these type of drones very efficiently, successfully. So that's really the nature of that. Now, connect to that a very powerful cameras, 4K camera that is coming pre-integrated, and you get yourself a very sophisticated camera flying around you and allows you to do that very easily and quickly. I think that this is really the big change.
So what you're talking about here is the sort of the availability of getting really sophisticated and complicated systems into the hands of consumers at very cheap prices. And what I'm hearing from that is this decentralization of these not yet weapons, but perhaps one day weapons, or any tools that can be then leveraged to means that we don't want them to be used. That is a risk here that we have to address. That now it's no longer specific armies or specific groups that we know are purchasing these and are manufacturing these for high prices, and we can deal with them. But you now have a decentralization of these up in the air, and we don't have much control over it, right?
That's correct. That's correct for sure. And some of that is coming from malicious type of usage, and some of that is coming just from inability of really the people that use it to understand the danger and what really can happen if they use it in the wrong way, let's say. If you try to use these type of drones, and I speak about kids right now, next to airports, and you try to take a very cool picture of any kind of plane taking off, that's dangerous.
Right. Okay. So now that we understand a little bit better the risks associated with this, where is it actually meeting us? So we talked about the idea that now people have access to this technology, but what tangible narrative-like scenarios can we imagine happening that a company like D-Fend Solutions becomes extremely relevant in the last few years? What are we actually defending against?
I'll give you several scenarios and examples. I think that all of them are ones that you can remember actually by yourself that really happened. So one, as I mentioned before, airports. Think about the Gatwick event around 3.5 years ago, where at the end, Gatwick and Heathrow airports were shut down for nearly 72 hours because of that. So the impact on an airport is very clear, and that's one example. Another, if you think about all this, let's call it the VIP locations, whether this is the Buckingham Palace, whether this is the White House, whether this is the PM office, the Japanese PM office, Prime Minister office. All of those locations were locations where people actually just landed drones next to them or really on them, if it's the Prime Minister of Japan in this case. None of them were actually terrorists. Most of them were. But bottom line, this is a very important place to protect yourself from as well. Another one, prisons. Drones right now are the most, let's call it, popular in one way, on one hand, and very easy type of way to smuggle narcotics, mobile devices, any kind of ammunition and other type of equipment that you don't want to be smuggled into prisons. Sports events and other, let's call it, crowd-based events. At the end, you don't want a drone to fly over your head when you watch the Super Bowl. And that's one hand, and you don't want any kind of drone to take the IP rights of any one of the organizations that actually acquire these IP rights for money. So bottom line, over there, it's not just safety, it's not just security, it's also IP rights.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. But Zohar, take me back to, to 2016. You're realizing what's happening to the world. You're realizing the threats. You're realizing that the consumer demands from the world are going to also require us to have drones in our everyday lives, right? And they are besides just the consumer entertainment, they're going to be playing an important part in deliveries and in maintenance and security and surveillance and construction and pretty much everything we can think of. Where is D-Fend solutions coming into play in 2016? What is sort of the thesis that you come in and say, I want to do this?
When we started that, we evaluated all the different technologies available in the market to deal with drones. And what we found out is that traditional type of technologies, the one that were developed for detection and then mitigation of let's call it MiG and F-16 and all of these big aircrafts, is the one being utilized against drones. Now, while these are great technologies, they were developed for something else, and they don't really fit to the really current situations we are in. Mm-hmm. So, on one hand, if you want to try and protect yourself from drones inside Manhattan, or if you want to protect the Pope, you cannot use a radar over there in order to identify these type of drones. These type of tools were really developed for something else. And the radar is not a solution for that. And that goes for detection. If you'll speak about, or if you try to understand the mitigation part of that, at the end, there are two types of mitigation available back then and even today until we came. And that were kinetic solutions, meaning everything that flies very fast in the air and make a big or a small boom at the end, depending on what you use over there. And jammers, any kind of GPS jammers, Wi-Fi jammers, communication jammers, GPS spoofers, technologies, which bottom line, the collateral damage of those is huge. And if you try to use any of those in any of the scenarios I mentioned before, what you find yourself in is in a situation that this is really not a viable solution. You cannot fire any kind of missile above Manhattan. You cannot try to protect the Pope. And this is a real case that we just released about 3 months ago. We saved the Pope in a real event. You cannot fire a missile over there. And on the other hand, you cannot really jam. If you're going to jam, you're going to have an impact on all the communication in that type of environment. So we came with the understanding that we need to develop something else that will enable all of these type of law enforcement and people that trying to protect and to have a secure type of environment for us to use in these kind of locations. And that's what we did. So we developed a technology which enables to identify, track, and locate these type of drones using the communication that these type of drones are having, and we take control. And I really mean we take control over these drones, only the hostile ones, with really no any kind of collateral damage at all. So we have no impact on any of the other drones flying over there or other communications running over there. And of course, it is not kinetic. So bottom line,
Incredible.
it's really safe solution to control this type of problem. I usually like to say that we take a drone incident and we verify that it's not going to become an incident at all. So the case is a classic example. It was released only 3 months after the event. Nobody actually knew that we were very close to have a drone incident over there, and nothing happened.
Well, I think that's the best case scenario of people not realizing that they were close to an event. That's when you know that you've actually mitigated it in the best way possible. How do you from a technological and innovative perspective, this cat and mouse game of new technologies arising for drones, and then you're on the defensive side. How do you, as the company, make sure that you're constantly at the forefront of the technology, that you're constantly, you're understanding the market, you're understanding what are the different opportunities, and you're able to create solutions that will defend against the most cutting edge technologies? What is it about, the way that you're running Defend that allows for that to happen?
Maybe before I really answer your question, let me go a step backward. The understanding that this is a cat and mouse game is a very important one. Many other type of solutions are the ones that you give to the customer, and that's the solution from today till the rest of the life of that specific equipment. This is not the case, or that's not a viable type of solution in the drones type of world, exactly because of the reason you mentioned. So you must have this kind of ability to upgrade and update the product and the offering all the time. I think that the best analogy for that is your antivirus on your computer. We need to have this antivirus updated all the time to deal with the new type of viruses that we have all the time. This is exactly what we do. And this is a necessity. It's not a nice to have type of capability. Now, what we did was to develop a methodology to do exactly that. We developed an internal methodology to deal with new type of drones that are coming to the market every time. And we verify that we just release updates, and we verify that we deal with the most advanced type of threats and allow our customers to use those and protect themselves from these type of threats.
Incredible. Now, in terms of company culture and how you're creating a culture of continuous curiosity, innovation, and advancement, what do you notice there on a leadership side that allows for a company to have that mentality, constantly innovating, constantly learning and researching?
I think it's a mix. First, call it make it happen. We always can deal with everything. This is part of the DNA of the company. There isn't such a word like, no, we can't. The only question is, how do we do it? So that's part of the DNA that started from day one, and that's what we have right now. And innovation, bottom line, really achieves the impossible. And we try to think about all of these kind of problems in an innovative way to find an innovative technology to deal with that. That's, I believe, the two key type of elements to deal with what you just asked me about.
Incredible. And Zohar, I think that it's so amazing, hearing about the way that you're First of all, personal career and how you've done different things, across the board, but all of them are deeply curious about them, advancements of technologies, and looking to be at the forefront of what's happening to us today, and how technology is shaping, really humanity and civilization. And of course, with D-Fend solutions, the way that 6 years ago you were looking at drones and understanding, yes, it's great that we can now purchase $200, $300 drones on Amazon, or $1,500 to get, the most high-end drones that just 10 years ago maybe would cost dozens of $1,000s for militaries. And you're saying there's a gap here with the way that we are going to be experiencing a new level of threats, a new cat and mouse game that you're going to be at the forefront of. And it's just amazing, and it's a huge pride for the Israeli ecosystem. And I really appreciate you taking your time to come and chat with me. And best of luck with D-Fend Solutions, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you, Zohar.
Thank you, Michael.